a three. Bang! Devin Booker from downtown. It's a three-point game. Wilder's right hand is Thor's hammer, and here in round one, he is Ragnarocking Staver.
Welcome back to a very early morning edition of The First Whistle. As we are recording this at about 8:09 local time here on the West Coast. My name is Jagraj and Aryan. A pleasure to be back with you once again as I'm joined by my co-host Aryan on this one. We have no Harsimmer today for some random reason because that guy just doesn't like to show up when he's needed. Anyways, Aryan, how are you doing?
Good, tired, we gotta get these episodes coming out for you guys.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the sports world right now, so it's best that we get these done as soon as possible. We'll talk about a variety of topics today, but starting off with the NBA, who has started their All-Star voting process. It started on Tuesday, December 19th, so yesterday was when the voting started, and it really does beg the question to see who the starters should be for the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. So what we'll do here is we will do our predictions for the starters, and we'll go based off of that. So I just wanted to get your overall thoughts on the new format this year as we're going back to East versus West.
I think that it makes everything just more competitive. I feel like East versus West kind of like bragging rights in a sense, and it's good to see that teams switch up. For example, like KD and Kyrie, they both went over to the West. Dame, he got a better team in the East, so it's good to see some competition in the East and West, which I like.
100%. And just looking at the starter predictions, there's so many options we could really go towards. But for me so far, I'll start off with my guard duo. I'm going with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic as my backcourt because there's so many options, as I mentioned. But in the West, it's a bit tricky, right? I mean, there's Devin Booker who could be there, De'Aaron Fox that could be there, Steph Curry that could be there. But right now, Shai and Luka are really playing at another level because not only are they doing awesome, their teams are like in the top 5 in the Western Conference standings as well. And when it's this close, winning is really a good tiebreaker. So with that being said, would you put the same two as your guard duo in the West?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're both, I believe, top 5 in MVP voting. Shai is doing great, and Luka's doing Luka numbers. Honestly, like there's as good as De'Aaron Fox is, as good as Curry is. Curry's team, they're a bit. I think they're outside the playoffs. Maybe they are back in the play-in from that Celtics game last night. We'll get to that later, but Luka, 100%, he deserves to be there. I mean, he's just been incredible for the Mavs. Shai has been probably one of the biggest surprises for a lot of people last season, taking that jump, and obviously you would want both of them to represent the Western Conference. So I 100% agree with you, Jagraj.
With the front court duo, I don't really think there's much debate on this one, although at the power forward position there could be. But for my small forward, I'm going with the one and only LeBron James. He's really has no business being here at this age, but he's still one of the best and most impactful players in the league. Led the Lakers to the in-season tournament championship, obviously, while taking home MVP honors. Still getting around 25, 7 and 7 on a nightly basis, and he's having one of the best shooting seasons in his career in year 21. And as we know, he's still one of the most clutch players in the league. If you combine that with how All-Star is basically a popularity contest as well, there's no doubt that LeBron will probably get that small forward position. And looking at my power forward position, I'm going to have to go with Kevin Durant. It's
100%.
almost as ridiculous that Durant is as good as he is. He's one of the main reasons why the Suns haven't completely fallen off, in my opinion, because Devin Booker, Bradley Beal have been in and out of the lineup, but KD is still doing his thing. Just for example, last night the Suns might have lost to the Trailblazers, but KD had 40 points in that performance, right? And so we'll talk about the concern of the Suns later on, but that's the reason why I have KD as my four. And no disrespect, Anthony Davis could have filled that position as well, or you could have even made a case to put Kawhi Leonard at the four because those two are also having great seasons.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very competitive spot for the fourth, but if you look at KD averaging over 30 points on 50, 45 efficiency, it's crazy how efficient he is. He's averaging 30 points, and he is how old? 35? It's ridiculous.
It's so nice to see, on another note, Anthony Davis staying healthy as well, because he's been clowned upon, or he's really been judged for the last 2 years based off of his injury history, right? And people might have forgotten how dominant of a player he really is. And I think I don't want to be cliche and say the league is in better hands when Anthony Davis is playing, right? But if you really do think about it, when the Lakers are good, that's when like spirits are high. People, I mean, you and I are in, we've seen the difference between people reacting to the Lakers being bad and now people reacting to the Lakers being good, right? And it's so nice to see that LeBron James still has some help in Anthony Davis. And I think we've both made this pretty clear. Anthony Davis by no means is ready to be the number one option on that team. It still has to be LeBron, which may prove to be an issue down the line here, considering it depends what happens with LeBron and Bronny after the end of the season. But really thinking about it, I'm really happy that Anthony Davis is healthy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, yeah, as you said, he was clowned upon for, injury concern. And you know what? Like with the NBA implementing the new rule where you have to play over 65 games, I think Anthony Davis really wants that, DPOY award, that All NBA award. And not only that, like Kawhi Leonard himself has played every single game this season as well. There was a lot of talk about him, load management. He wasn't helping for the playoffs. He missed the season, and he's played every single game as well. And the Clippers are doing really good, which we'll get to that as well. And it's good to see a lot of players healthy and getting ready to play, and hopefully you'll be nominated for some of the awards.
Taking a look at the Eastern Conference now, there's a lot of names there too that we could put in the starting lineup. But for my backcourt, I'm gonna have to go with Tyrese Halliburton and Tyrese Maxey. So both of the Tyreses. And um with that being said, I think Tyrese Halliburton is obviously a lock because he earned his first All-Star selection last season, but this season he's looking like a superstar. We saw what he did in the in-season tournament, for example. He's literally playing like Steve Nash, in my opinion. He's leading the Pacers to the best offense in the NBA with an average of 25.7 points, a league best 12 assists on 50, 40, 87 shooting splits. And we saw that game against the Boston Celtics as well. Tyrese could not miss, and that was the game really where the league realized that Tyrese had arrived. And joining him in the backcourt, in my opinion, will be the other Tyrese, Tyrese Maxey. He's really taking his game to another level, emerging as Philadelphia's second leading scorer with James Harden no longer on the team. I know Tyrese Maxey, he obviously viewed James Harden as kind of his mentor, and he had a really good relationship with him. But without him making the leap that Tyrese did, or without making the leap that Tyrese did, I don't think there's any way that the 76ers would still be viewed as a legitimate contender in the Eastern Conference. He's been really special. Obviously, you could either there's so many names you could put out there. There's Scotty Barnes of the Raptors, there's Damian Lillard of the Bucks, there's Donovan Mitchell, so many names that could go into that backcourt. But if it was up to you, who would you put as your Eastern Conference backcourt?
I don't think there's any debate with Tyrese Halliburton being a starter. I mean, look at what he's done for the Pacers. They're becoming a bigger market now with him as well. Like, he's single-handedly changing the franchise and averaging those points on insane efficiency with that form. I really like that addition for the starters. I'm going to take a bit of a step down though on Maxi. I believe he's having a really good season. I think that Damian Lillard will get that spot over. As you said, it's a popularity contest with him going to the Bucks. I think that he will get that edge over them. The Bucks are a 2 seed, and with the shooting splits, they're not the best 44, 37, 90. He's still up there as well, and I'm pretty sure he is leading in clutch. Not clutch, but he is doing like better in the fourth period as well, which when the Bucks beat him. So I will have him being started, but I can see it go either way. But as you said, it's a popularity contest, and I think that Dame could definitely take that edge over Maxey.
It's really hard not to give the other front court spot to, or give the front court spot to Jason Tatum. He's been the best player on the best team in the Eastern Conference, and loaded as the Celtics are, they're a different team with him on the bench, and he's one of the best two-way players in the game today. That's why I think that he'd be one of the forwards, but in the other forward, I'm going to put Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's quietly averaging 30 points per game while shooting 60% of the field. And did you know, Arian, that has never been done before in the NBA's history?
Oh, really? Looks like Giannis can make history once again.
Just make sure he gets a game ball. That's
Yeah,
that's
make
that's
sure.
the one
Yeah,
thing.
let's
Make
just
sure
make
he
sure
gets a
he
game
gets that
ball.
ball.
And I forgot to mention our Western Conference center as well, but I think you already know what the answer
No
was. I'm going to
debate.
put no debate about it. I'm going to put Nikola Jokic, two-time MVP, widely considered to be the best player in the game today. A couple of rough games though lately have hurt his shooting numbers, but he's still having that 30-point triple-double on a nightly basis. Probably the front runner for MVP so far, and his passing and touch are some of the best that we've seen. But over on the East, I'm going to go with Joel Embiid. He's on pace to lead the league in scoring for the third straight season, having a career year in the assist department and being an all NBA level defender. So I really think he heard the talk from last year saying that it was a fake MVP, because Embiid continues to put on for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, 100% agree. And his scoring numbers have been really good. He could come back for that scoring title. And Embiid has definitely heard the issues with fans regarding whether or not he was ready to be an MVP or not. But over his last 8 games, I believe he scored over 30 points a night. So he's on a competitive streak right now, averaging 34 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, a block, or sorry, a steal and 2 blocks a night. Great to
Yeah,
see.
I'd never expect the 76ers to be such a legitimate contender, but props to Embiid, what he's done. And if we talk about legitimate contenders, we saw that the Memphis Grizzlies were one last year. Last year,
Yeah,
this team was, I believe, the second seed, if I'm not mistaken, ultimately fell up short in the first round against LeBron James and the LA Lakers, who really seemed unstoppable in that last part of last year. But we turn our pages to this year. Before yesterday, this team was 7-19 in the
yeah.
Western Conference. And yesterday marked the return of their superstar, Demetrius Jamel Morant. Say the Govy name. Anyways, yeah, Ja Morant returned last night, and really, it felt like he had a message to send to the rest of the league, and that is exactly what he did. And you couldn't have built up a better story. I mean, the NBA script writers, uh they really went wild with this one, and you saw the joy on his face as well when he helped the Grizzlies come back from down 24 points against the New Orleans Pelicans last night. Had a 34.8 assist, 6 rebound night for his return, and after not playing for 8 months, what a return from Morant.
100%, man. It's so good to see him back. Hopefully it stays this way. He doesn't get back into that trouble with him and his, guns. But yeah, I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies have a really bad start this season. I do, I am concerned, maybe it's too late. But again, this Western Conference has been very shifty. That the Rockets has been good. They've been bad on some nights, same with the Warriors. The Memphis Grizzlies, I think they will really struggle to go back to the playoffs, but they could definitely be a playing team and end up as a 7 or 8 seed with Morant, of course. And Morant has been amazing for them. I mean, yesterday was the only sample size we got, but he got a game winner. He was out there jumping and dished out for 34 points, I believe it was, on pretty decent efficiency as well. So yeah, it's pretty good to see John Morant back in the court.
It really feels like he had a message to send, real like if you do think about it, right? A lot of people were writing him off, and I think he heard like, oh, he's better than me. Oh no, they're putting him better as me. Like, who is this guy? I think they forgot that John Morant's one of the best point guards in the league, and he really showcased it. That I know a lot of fantasy owners are really happy with the way that John Morant's been, or the fact that he's back, right? And if he could continue to average what he's been averaging, the Grizzlies should be put into a great spot. Just what do you think the rest of the season plays out like for Morant?
I feel like he's I don't know, man. It's gonna be difficult to see. I think he doesn't want to, go set out at all. Taylor Jenkins, I do have faith in him to, construct better rotations. I mean, we saw like how bad the loss of, players like Tyus Jones was to the Memphis Grizzlies. So, I mean, I don't think Morant's gonna play every single game from now on to the end of the season. So I hope Taylor Jenkins can make adjustments because they really need, um, you know, a good lineup when John Morant's healthy and get the winning games. And so, yeah, I feel like they could definitely be a playing team. I'm very surprised if they make the playoffs, but that could still happen as well because, as I said, the Western Conference is very shaky. So, yeah,
If we look at another team in the Western Conference, someone who's actually doing really well, we gotta take a look at the Los Angeles Clippers.
100%.
James Harden got traded here not too long ago, and there were a lot of concerns because this team just couldn't seem to win games at the start of it. But Harden and the rest of the Clippers said, just let us settle in and we'll put up the performance that everyone wants. The Clippers now have won eight straight games, if I'm not mistaken, and that's a feat that they haven't achieved since the 2015-16 season. So almost 8 years ago, that was the last time this happened. And you have a team with James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. You tell me those four are on a team together in 2018, and I'd think, okay, they're the most unstoppable team in the league. And obviously they've aged since now, right? But when you still have two players in NBA history and the only two players in NBA history who have led the league in both scoring and assists multiple times in James Harden and Russell Westbrook, it's really a balancing act that has to be perfected, right? When to look for your own shots, when to set up your teammates. And really, in Monday's win against the Indiana Pacers, Harden flipped the switch from playmaker to scorer in the fourth quarter because in the first three quarters of that, Harden had 14 points, 9 assists, and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were combined for 55 combined points. But get this, Aryan, in the fourth quarter, Harden had 21 points, no assists, and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George had no points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he's definitely stepped up for the Clippers. And, I'm going to take my words back from Ty Lue. I think that he's doing a great job making adjustments. I mean, when you have four top heavy players, it's really hard to construct rotations and, see who gets the ball at times. And he's done a good job making those adjustments so far. They're, I believe 8-0, as of now, in that stretch. And, Harden definitely has flipped the switch, has become more of a scorer. And, the thing is with this team is that if Harden's doing that, Kawhi Paul George can do, pick off from them. So it goes either way as well. So, yeah, I mean they're doing really good right now, and I think that they'll be a top three seed in the East or in the West. Sorry, when things are done.
Last year's players of the week were superstars Giannis Antetokounmpo and Luka Doncic, who both were named the players of the week for their respective conference. Luka was named the Western Conference Player of the Week with a record of 3-1, 36.8 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and 11.5 assists per game. And I think the one biggest question I have, Arjen, is how did you guys let him fall to me at fifth place in fantasy?
And bro, I did not have that pick, man. There's some questionable picks, but Luca, I would have taken him like second overall if I could. I mean, it's crazy how good he is, and I feel like it's gonna stay that way for a while.
Really, as I mentioned, and Giannis, taking a look at Giannis Antetokounmpo as well, 4-0 last week with the Milwaukee Bucks, 36 points per game, 12.8 rebounds per game, and 4.5 assists per game. And we can't forget his 64-point performance as well.
Yeah, 100% deserves that Player of the Week.
Really sparked controversy with the ball moment.
Yeah, very
Like,
necessary, but it's good to have that drama in the NBA. It makes it more entertaining.
did you know that he actually doesn't even have the game ball from Game 6 of the 2021 NBA Finals?
Yeah, I think it went to Drew Holiday, right?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, that really does beg the question because we saw Drew Holiday return to Milwaukee as well, um, or not return to Milwaukee. We saw them in Boston, and it doesn't look like that they had a good relationship. Like Giannis was really putting up like sort of I guess, a fake smile when meeting Drew
mhm.
Holiday. I don't know if it's like sort of his mentality when um when he's learning, or like when you know how Giannis is like, you can't be friends with the opposition and everything. But if you look at his relationship with Chris Middleton and the rest of the team, right, it feels like it's a bit different when it comes to Drew.
I feel like he feels a little bad because I think Giannis was the reason. Of course, Giannis was the reason why they traded for Dame, and essentially Giannis wanted not wanted, but you had to get Drew Holiday off the team in order to get Damian Lillard on the team. So I think Giannis does feel a little bit bad, and of course he's trying to lock in and get that chip. Because if the Bucks make an early exit, it's over for them. There are going to be talks as well. They can construct a roster, but it's really like kind of like now or never because Brook Lopez isn't getting any younger. You are lacking a lot of things, and Adrian Griffin will also be in the hot seat as well. So there's a lot going on as well.
Taking a look into the world of boxing now, Jake Paul secured a stunning first round knockout in his fight with Andre August last Friday, as the uppercut put an end to that fight. It marked Paul's second outing against a professional boxer. His first one was against Tommy Fury, which he lost via decision. And really, to summarize the fight, Paul was pretty light on his feet from the opening bell, straight rights at the midsection of August, and he landed a strong right hook to the head of his fellow American, and really that was the 35-year-old was Andre August, and he landed a strong right hook, but out of nowhere, Paul snuck a brilliant right uppercut behind a jab to drop August badly.
Mhm.
And August entered the fight with a 10-1-1 record, 5 knockouts to Paul's 4, but he couldn't beat the referee's count there, and the fight came to a stop.
I'm really impressed with Jake Paul. He made a really good adjustment. Andre August was fighting kind of with his head down a little bit, kind of going down to midsection because I think he kind of wanted to give back the favor of the body shots. And Jake Paul made a really great adjustment, parrying and then going ahead and getting that uppercut there. Jake Paul is serious, and I don't think he has the caliber of being a world champion, but he's just proving us wrong every day because his work ethic is really good. He has the money, so he could go ahead and hire these trainers. And he came into this fight. He didn't really care about the pay-per-view sales or anything like that. He just came in, knocked the guy out, and he's on to the next. And this is a new route for Jake Paul in the more professional scene. And you can see him face the likes of Vidal Riley and maybe the Tommy Fury rematch, and he's working his way there. So Jake Paul, good for him. Getting that first round knockout and a very impressive one to say nonetheless.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you might not see him as a world champion in the future, but I'm starting to admire his dedication towards boxing, because he was telling us that a couple of years ago he didn't really take boxing seriously. He obviously viewed it as sort of a money plot, something that he didn't really like. He just wanted to do it for the money, right? But it seems like he's really started to take his boxing career seriously, and this is what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, if he's taking boxing seriously now, I mean, we can only like imagine like what he could do to the likes of Tommy Fury, but O'Reilly, and of course KSI in case that fight ever happens. And he is representing Team USA or training with Team USA in the Olympics, which is very huge for someone like him. And he's gonna go ahead and bring in a lot more eyes to the Olympics this season.
If we do really also think about it, you spoke about KSI, and KSI, he actually had a fight the same day as well against Speed. And this is sort of kind of sticking it to Jake Paul, in my opinion. He wanted to go right at the time where Paul's main event was happening, sort of a back and forth, those mind games, as I mentioned, really trying to get towards Paul. But KSI hopped back into the ring against Speed, and the friendly rivals, they were raising money for the Anthony Walker Foundation, basically targeting racism. And it's always nice to see when there's no real animosity between the two. They were doing it just for fun, and really, you got to give Speed his props. He came in quickly for the first round, but after that, he really seemed to hold back when it came to making moves against KSI. Was ducking and weaving out of his way, and KSI was really unfazed by Speed's attempted strikes because he's really double his size, right? And he was just following him around the ring, and that's how the first round came to end. And Speed was catching his breath, showed concern for KSI, and then he just said it's all fun and games and everything, right? But as the matchup continued, KSI kind of thought, okay, like, he's actually getting tired and everything, and we can stop. He literally said we can stop, and he also said something along the lines of I show meat, and that really got Speed fired up, and Speed was mad. He jumped right into action with literally his first full powered attack on KSI, but his energy was obviously short lived, and he spent the remaining seconds of the round avoiding KSI before the time or went off. And then seeing that Speed was upset over the match outcome, KSI tried to cheer him up, saying, "How old are you? You showed big heart," because KSI gave Speed the win via forfeit. And I can probably attest that that's not the way that Speed wanted to give up, right? No matter if it was just a friendly contest, a contest is a contest. You want to win, right? And KSI tapped out, gave Speed the win, and Speed broke down after that. So I just wanted to get your initial thoughts on the matchup, and did Speed have every right to react the way he did?
Yeah, Speed's very dedicated, like I think that he just wanted to, go out there and like kind of prove KSI a bit wrong, show the fans, he's capable of doing this boxing thing because I do think Speed entering the boxing world. Yeah, KSI forfeiting, I think it was like the best. I mean, I feel like Speed was gonna die. He was so exhausted. And Speed was very upset, didn't dap up KSI afterwards. So yeah, I mean, it was for a good cause. Again, brought in a lot of revenue, a lot of eyes on the Anthony Walker Foundation, and it's really good that KSI used it for a good cause, and a bit bitter when going head to head with Jake Paul, and you know what, I think it was good for what it was, and yeah.
Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are both fighting this Saturday on a blockbuster card in Saudi Arabia, but it was also announced that they're going to be going head to head in 2024, and that matchup is scheduled to play out, I believe, in March, sometime early March. And, with Francis Ngannou now entering the boxing scene as a legitimate contender as well, how do you see the Joshua versus Wilder fight going?
Anthony Joshua just doesn't have confidence. Like I've seen it in like all of his fights. Like I don't see the same Anthony Joshua. And I feel like Deontay Wilder is just going to take his head off. Like Wilder is just going to be overwhelming for Joshua. As good as Joshua is, you're not beating Deontay Wilder. He has insane power, insane power. If I were to tell NBA fans that you got a KD build, knocking people out there over 250 pounds, I don't think you guys would believe me. But that's what Deontay Wilder is, and he has no form. He's just swinging and it's working. He was able to knock down Fury, I believe, a total of 3 times in their 3 bouts. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to think how good Wilder's power is. I mean, it's going to be too much for Joshua. Joshua's just not too confident. You can't be scared fighting Deontay Wilder as well. You got to be confident. You got to push the pace. You got to make sure that, you're making Wilder think. You can't be thinking too much about yourself. And I think that's how the fight's going to go.
Not to mention, Deontay Wilder is part of that Jalen Brown, Aljamain Sterling family where all of them look alike, so uh,
Yeah.
hopefully Deontay Wilder doesn't have the same outing as Aljamain Sterling did last against preferably a boxer. You could call Sean O'Malley a boxer, and that right
100% a
hand really
boxer.
caught him well. And speaking of Sean O'Malley, we transition now into the UFC, where this last Saturday UFC 296 took place from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, the last pay-per-view event of 2023. And I just wanted to break down the main card from that event, starting off with Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell, which opened up the pay-per-view. And it
Well,
only took one. There's really no other way to put it. It only took one. So Josh Emmett hit Bryce Mitchell with one right hand, and the fight was over. But Aryan, I'm telling you, the way I saw Bryce Mitchell after he was knocked down, shaking and everything, I was actually scared for the guy's life.
I was really concerned. I mean, Josh Emmett, man, like we we really need to start taking a look at him. He took that interim title loss in January too hard, and he just knocks out Bryce Mitchell. And Bryce Mitchell did come in like a couple of weeks notice, not even a week, I believe. But getting a knockout like that with the punch, with the overhand right, You see that from kicks, you see that from elbows, you see that from knees, but you don't see it from a punch. Made him switch. I think he was seizing up, and it was very concerning. And it was an incredible knockout to open up such a fantastic card. And yeah, I feel like just it was just crazy. And we pray for Mitchell's recovery. I believe he's doing good right now, and hopefully we get to see him back on the winning ways. And hopefully Emmett does arise the featherweight rankings as we speak.
On the second fight, Paddy Pimblett defeated Tony Ferguson by unanimous decision with a 30-27 scorecard on all three judges, and really he looked sharp out of the gate, fought smart down to the stretch, securing another win, and his overall winning streak is now at 7 points. And if I'm Tony Ferguson, I think it's time to retire.
100%, man. Like I love Tony to death, but like he needs to just retire. I feel like he could take the coaching route. Goggins didn't work out, and I think that he prioritized his conditioning over more boxing and MMA training. And Pemba, he's good, but I don't think he's that good. I feel like he's a bit overhyped in my opinion. It might be a hot take, but I don't know. I think I didn't really see anything too impressive from him. He had good was resilience, but I think Tony Ferguson needs to retire, and Pimblett he kind of needs to go kind of back to the drawing board. I mean, if you were very you're struggling that much against a 35-year-old, what are you going to do with people your age that are good and they aren't out of their prime? So yeah, a bit concerning, but good bout from him and good showing from Tony Ferguson.
Shavkat Rakhmonov defeated Stephen Wonderboy Thompson by submission in round 2 as he remains undefeated. His finishing rate remains perfect. And the first person that ever tapped Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Rakhmonov was basically just too much, too big, too strong, too complete. And that's now 6 wins and 6 finishes in the UFC, 18 wins and 18 finishes overall. It's safe to say that Rakhmonov is the real deal.
Yeah, 100%, man. And submitting Stephen Thompson for as good as Stephen Thompson is, it's crazy, man. Akhmadov, he is just he's just really good. Like there's no other way to really put it. 100% finisher is so hard to do, and throughout their 6 fights in the UFC to do that, it's very very impressive. So yeah, Stephen Thompson, I feel like he's also up there for should he retire as well. He's up there in age, and he wasn't able to catch a welterweight gold. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be something that we gotta look at. How good is he gonna be against top level competition, which I think is his next stop in the road to that welterweight championship. So yeah.
In the co-main event, Alexandre Pantoja defeated Brandon Royval by unanimous decision 50-45, 50-45, 49-46 to retain his UFC flyweight championship. And, the champion really seemed like a superior grappler, taking the challenger down at will, keeping him on the canvas for long stretches. And it was really a smart tactical effort from the Brazilian. Had a pair of victories and rematches over opponents named Brandon in 2023. So he heads into next year ready to continue defending his flyweight championship.
Yeah, really good showing from him. The flyweight division is a little thin right now, so the competition might not be up there, but Pantoja is doing really good right now with what he's got, and I'm very happy with his performance. And I feel like if you're a fan of him, I don't think that belt is going anywhere anytime soon.
In the main event, Leon Edwards defeated Colby Covington by unanimous decision with a 49-46 score on all three judges' scorecards to retain the UFC welterweight championship. And really, Edwards dictated the terms of engagement in the first 2 rounds. He was picking his shots in low output, no wrestling rounds really against the low output challenger in Colby Covington. And that's not really the character that Colby is, And in the third, he got back up, or he kind of popped up after Covington finally got him to the ground, and he returned the favor just to prove a point to Colby Covington. And this was quite the emotional matchup, but really not really the fight that everyone wanted to see to close out 2023.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed, but I'm glad Leon Edwards got the win. If you make comments like that, you should back it up. You should do whatever you can to win that fight. I don't know what was wrong with him. I don't know if there's an injury or anything, but I would really like to know why he fought like that. It was almost as bad as the Yoel Romero and Adesanya fight, but there was obviously more output, and Leon Edwards getting that wrestling there, proving why this belt is not going anywhere. It's not going to go, maybe Shavkat. It's not going to go to Usman again. So yeah, I'm good for Leon Edwards, and I'm glad he got the win. Colby, definitely, I think it's time for him to also think about hanging it up. 3 title shots, you weren't able to get any of them. So yeah, there's definitely some talk with what he should do.
Taking a look at another thing that happened, something that was really more popular than the actual main event itself. Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis were sat pretty close together at UFC 296, and we saw at the prior press conference on the Friday that Dricus had said some things that were potentially triggering to Sean Strickland, and you could see it really got to the champion, and he was pretty polite with it, asked Gilbert Burns' family to move aside, because, I'm about to literally beat the hell out of this man. And after he asked Gilbert Burns' son to move aside, we saw how it all went down.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. I love Sean Strickland, taking that action there, and I mean, Dana White even took the blame for sitting them so close, but come on, we knew what he was doing. We knew that he wanted, something to happen. I mean, look at how many more talks there is between these two fighting, especially with Dricus du Plessis said about Sean Strickland, his father. I think he had it coming.
No, I agree with you. And Dana White added 4 fights to the UFC 299 card that very same Saturday night, adding Kevin Holland versus Michael Page. He also added Petr Yan versus Song Yadong, Jeff Neal versus Ian Gary, and Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. What a card that is shaping out to be.
It's hard to see how UFC 300 can like top that card, man. I'm really excited to see what 300 is up for about. I just wanted to say one thing. I think the super fight he's talking about is going to be like Ronda Rousey versus Miesha Tate. I think that's going to be the fight, and it's probably going to be like what he's going to get away with it being the main card fight. So, I mean, we'll see what UFC 300 has to say, but 299 is looking like a massive card, really good, and the MVP setting is this incredible addition for the UFC.
I've also heard rumblings of GSP versus Nick Diaz potentially. That could be a fight that goes down as well. And name wise, that's as big as it gets.
Yeah, for sure.
I just wanted to touch a bit on the signing of MVP towards the UFC because Arya, this is someone you've been familiar with from his time outside the UFC for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, he is just he's very, very good. We know him a lot of people do know him from, training with KSI and having that, karate stance. I'm a bit worried that he's gonna use it in UFC because what's wrong with that stance is when you take out the legs, you can easily, go ahead and get the legs out. But having a first fight with Holland, I'm very excited to see that fight happen. Venom Page was linked with, numerous different places that he was going to sign to, but he ultimately chose the UFC, which was the right decision in my opinion. And I'm really happy to see him, join the rankings. And I'm really excited to see that Kevin Holland fight because I feel like it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, and that the UFC shaping up to be something that's really good here in 2024. We got about a minute remaining, and so taking a look at this, you have any final thoughts after a great episode today?
Nope. I mean, it's gonna get crazier and crazier, man. Like, we got the All-Star voting that's gonna cap off. There's gonna be probably a lot more boxing announcements and go involving maybe Ngannou, and it's probably gonna be good. And I think it was a great year for sports this year, 2023.
Yeah, we got a lot of big things coming up for the podcast as well. Potentially an in-person episode coming up here in on Christmas Day because that's our tradition. We usually get together and watch NBA games on Christmas Day. So I'm really looking forward to, getting together with the guys and watching some basketball.
For sure.
All right, that'll do it for today's episode of The First Whistle. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, everyone.